Good afternoon, guys. It's slightly interesting open, not as interesting as yesterday, but definitely we're seeing continuation of US dollar strength. That sort of started yesterday, and it's definitely kicked on during the Asia session today. And Europe is loving the same sort of deal. Definitely don't want to be fighting this US dollar strength just yet, but I'm very suspect that we're going to get too ahead of ourselves here. This is not really the environment where the US dollar is going to kick, say, euro past 105 or dollar yen past 115. There are just too many risk events coming up, mainly Trump's speech next week on Tuesday, and then the NFP on Friday, which is a make or break for this Fed talk, which started this US dollar rally. So the Fed hawk came out this morning in Asia, just before this sell-off, was saying, well, definitely considering a March rate hike. Everyone's like, what? Excuse me? We're doing what now? So, look, they're gaining optionality. When Fed speakers come out like this and they talk about raising rates in March, it's not really like, it's going to happen 100% sort of scenario. It's more like they just want the market to be aware that they can. Now, very likely they'll back off. The problem with this is when they back off, because they don't want to surprise the market, you see US dollar weakness after that. So the Fed's talked about raising rates for 5 years. It's done it twice. So let's not get ahead of ourselves with the Fed. It's not the most reliable Fed speak out there. But obviously we don't care about if they're going to raise or not. Literally, we care about the market's perception of if they're going to raise or not. We're trading, short-term news, short-term trades. We're day trading this sort of environment. So this is US dollar strength. Because of that comment, we're seeing where the US dollar strength can continue to. We're looking at the key levels from last week on the euro, probably the closest key level out there in the market at the moment. Reason why the euro is so close to its key levels is that its bounce on the US dollar weakness was short-lived. It's got its own host of problems. Very hard to get a sustained rally here in the euro. So this was actually a pretty good bounce in general. Now we're going back towards that 105.50, 105.20, 105, all big levels that will take a fair bit to break. And so it's not like I expect that to happen today. It might, but it's not really on the cards for me. Pounds suffering at the back of this US dollar strength, but it's actually outperforming. You can't tell it's outperforming because it's still falling here against the US dollar. But if you look at the pair that we're trading, which is the euro pound, we're starting to make a little bit of money here as the market drifts lower. This is a very small trade, and we saw a little bounce above 85. Sort of rejected again. I mean, who's going to buy this? Who's going to buy that? Right? You have to be sort of madman. The issue is technicals don't show the whole picture. There's some pretty big news coming up at the top of the hour, which is Carney speaking about inflation. Now, we ranted a little bit about inflation nonsensically yesterday. It's a big deal for the Bank of England, and we can expect the Carney to be not as worried about it as perhaps some of the other major economies are because of so many uncertainties. But if it continues to get stronger, then perhaps we will see the market, him come out and speak a little bit more about it. I'm pretty sure he's speaking tonight. Let me not give you false information. Carney speaking, it's not a combinational thing, are they? Why I just paused and hesitated there, back in the day, it used to be that the Bank of England's governor only spoke if the inflation was outside target. Now, what I remember from last week's inflation number, they weren't that bad. Let me find out for that, guys. I've been telling people that the Carney's going to be speaking later tonight. I mean, it is an inflation hearing, but I'm not sure if that has changed. If the big man himself's going to be there. Perhaps someone in the chat there knows for sure. Did they change that regulation there, where the Bank of England governor doesn't have to speak if the inflation number's not outside the band? I know he's scheduled to be speaking, but I don't know if Forex Factory and FX Street know about that little rule, or if that little rule exists anymore. Alright, I mean, maybe I'm too old. Maybe I'm making it up. Definitely, it used to be the case, right? If the inflation was pretty much as expected, that they didn't have to speak. But, you know, look, perhaps it's changed. Yeah, so, look, I've read a few reports that he's going to speak too, so let's not get too excited that he's not going to speak. He's probably going to be there. Everyone can't be wrong. Let me triple check it. Because I do want to sort of hear. I mean, it's good to hear from him, right? Straight after this sort of talk. So we're not talking about the scheduled inflation hearing. We're talking about whether Carney is going to be speaking. Well, at the actual Bank of the Treasury website now. Yeah, Potter, maybe I made it up, mate. I'm fairly sure it used to be that if inflation was like low, below 1% or above 3%, then there had to be a sort of a hearing on it. But you know, that could be just olden day stuff. All right, well, let's just assume he's talking now. So what does the Bank of England, you know, governor have to do usually? He has to try and play his cards, and what his cards are at the moment. He wants to keep the pound low, so I don't expect him to be hawkish. Expect him to be less concerned about inflation than other central bankers around the world, and you know, definitely he'll play up the risk to the economy from the Brexit. That's just a no-brainer, right? So you can't expect the market to run really hot on Carney unless he missteps and comes across as ultra confident, which he's done in the past because he's, you know, the James Bond of the central bankers, and you know, people can latch on to some things he says. But you know, my expectation is he's going to be dovish to neutral, and you know, what we really care about is if it's dovish and the market can't fall off, because we're at some pretty key levels here with this pound. You know, whether we break those levels or not based upon his dovishness. If we break below 123.50, 123.80, this whole chart's going to start to look a little bit bearish, and then we can start talking. As we're falling, we'll be talking like 120. Now this is coming just as we enter these Brexit negotiations, and the whole Brexit recovery trade on certainty coming back in may be delayed for longer than we hoped. So the selling euro pound and buying pound yen sort of trade might be put on hold if the technicals break here. You know, a lot of people will be watching this sort of price action in the next 24 hours. What happens, whether we can hold here, break back above 125 or not. I was very much in the bullish camp, but I've gone a bit more neutral now with this US dollar strength. But it's my base case is we're going higher, or you know, much more likely than we go back below 120 in my opinion. But I'm open to change here, and I don't have too much exposure. And that's another thing keeping me open-minded. And you know, I have to admit this is definitely up for grabs what's going on here. But my base case is that this certainty post the House of Lords entering those European negotiations, Article 50 actually will be a good event for the pound. All right, not a big negative event, like an actual. We've done it now. What now? Right, sell off on it? No. I mean, it seems to me like we've got topside potential. So yeah, I'll watch Carney a little bit. It can waffle on a bit, this particular hearing. If you've watched it in the past with us, it can waffle on, and it can be an extended little diatribe. I remember they used it to sort of attack him a couple months ago regarding his stance on Brexit. FX Ram, he's got it for us. I think the Bank of England governor has to send a letter to the Chancellor if inflation is outside the limit. Alright, he's got it. That's what I was confusing there. Alright, he's got to send the letter to the Chancellor. Isn't England ridiculous? House of Lords. Wait, I shouldn't say that. Still my queen, right? Still my queen here in Australia. Still my lords then, probably, right? So let's see. The other thing which is pretty exciting here is that Aussie's showing a little bit of dovishness. Now, this is great for us traders. I mean, for one, if you haven't bought the Aussie because of the commodity rally, you might get an opportunity here from US dollar strength, but also a lot of people sold Aussie down at 75, 75.50, 76. And this could be a get out of jail free card if we can get a little bit more selling pressure. Don't expect too much though. I mean, it's exciting when it moves 30 pips. That's because it really isn't moving for the last couple of months. I'm just excited about it because I've got a lot of traders and a lot of clients who trade this. And from a business perspective, I just want them to sort of get out of it or flip into buying dips rather than selling rallies. Would be a much better scenario for them. Yeah, and dollar yen as well. I mean, let's not really expect it to go gangbusters here. I've got some small dollar yen longs, but I'm not overly excited here. I just don't see the backing to get back above 115 coming anytime soon. And you know, I'm a bit worried about the stock market rally going into Trump's announcement. I mean, who the hell holds long stocks at record highs into it? You know, a Trump speech on the reason stocks are rallying. Trump could really mess it up on Tuesday next week. So as we get closer to Friday and Monday, I suspect that the rally will stall and either we go sideways or profit taking comes in. We talked about that yesterday. Alright, now enough of my rambling. Let's have a look at some of the bank reports. I'm a bit non-committal in the last maybe week or so in trading when I've been doing these updates, and my trading reflects that. I haven't been trading much. You know, the signal account is doing, not so signal account, the competition account's doing okay, and the streaming account's doing fine, but mainly because I'm not getting myself into trouble trying to pick these movements at the moment. I'm pretty much, I want to wait for the next story, right? I want to wait for the next thing. And it doesn't seem that it's so easy to pick at the moment. Perhaps we could have sold into that Euro rally in hindsight, but yeah. But yeah, let's see what UBS Daily has to say about this. You know, I wish I could give you clearer instructions, guys. It's just, I don't want you to go chasing trades here. I know how dangerous the next week's going to be. And let's not commit our capital in sort of those environments. I mean, it doesn't stop you going after your own trades, but just, it's not what I'm looking for. Yeah, tonight is the global dairy auction, guys. That's true. Now, in terms of what's going on with the Kiwi, we're talking about the Kiwi recovery and it holding above 71.30. Now it's looking a little bit more like the US dollar is winning with this battle here. So let's have a look at it. Alright, so 71.30 is being tested right now. Big times in the Kiwi world. Oh, Aussie Kiwis rolling up towards 107.50. Wow, 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 wow. If you got stops and you're short, Aussie Kiwi, I think you're going to get busted here. Same with the longs on the Kiwi. This is not looking good. Not looking good. So, I mean, every time the market goes and tests these levels, it can hold. It's just Kiwi's really struggling. Surprising, we haven't seen this sort of struggle for a while. I mean, everything's pulling back against the US dollar. Perhaps it was just opportune time to try and go to the downside here. But yeah, this is a pretty big level. This is going to look pretty bad for the Kiwi if we can break this. You know, the Kiwi really moves when it breaks. It's a very sentiment trader, this sort of thing. It's very easy to push around, so when key levels are broken, you can get bigger than expected moves. Yeah, this is turning very bearish for the Kiwi. And I was actually pretty bullish yesterday. I didn't buy, but I'll be about to get stopped out here, I think, if I did. Yeah, it's a widowmaker, isn't it? How many times does a Kiwi just, you know, wouldn't surprise me at all if we're below 70 next week. Alright, what we're going to have a look at here. Broken. We're definitely bearish here. Alright, so we didn't get that 125 test or break yesterday. Sellers have taken back control in the pound, that's true. Greenback. Yeah, Euro yen is hurting this dollar yen. Like, traders are asking me, why is dollar yen here when the euro is, you know, so close to being to its lows? Talk to 4 hour here. So, you know, just imagine that US dollar strength and weakness is basically played evenly against each pair. We're like 40 points below on the dollar yen. So why is dollar yen, you know, behaving so poorly? It's because a lot of it is euro weakness, more than just general US dollar strength. And euro yen is a big pair, and euro yen is struggling here. Back below 120. Yeah, and so it's an important little side cross going on. Like, you wouldn't even call it a minor cross. Aussie. So 75.90, 76.10, that's a really big level. Now that could be tested. To break it's going to require a fair bit of strength. Weakness of US dollar strength. I just don't see it happening, but you know, the Kiwi's gone, so if the Kiwi's gone, which is the 100 and 200 day moving average here, ooh, that's a big break. If we close below this, you know, we're talking 70.90 tomorrow morning. All it requires is a little bit of a soft milk auction tonight, and you know, we're closing below the 200 day moving average. It's Kiwi's a tricky one. When it sells quick. Definitely I won't be buying anymore. I've switched pretty much neutral to bearish now the price action's changed. I mean, it's just, yeah, you can't be buying that. It's going to take a pretty stellar sort of auction to get that back above. Yeah, that's so. I didn't know the 200 day was right here as well on the Kiwi. So this is another reason to be watching it. Literally 71.35. Good point, FXRM. Let's have a look at the US 10-year. You know what is important these days is these yields. Ticking high a little bit. We had President's Day yesterday, so the market was closed. Alright, so we've still got a fair bit of room to get to the 2.5. You can see XM is definitely sponsoring investing.com. Do not trade with XM. I'm not endorsing them at all. Other thing in in Australia today was the RBA minutes. Now, anyone hoping for some movement, let's have a little look at what happened when they were released. Literally here. Alright, we had a 3-4 point movement when the minutes came out. So, yeah, they're really, no one's really paying attention to the RBA at the moment at all. Alright, for something a little bit different, we talk about a little bit this euro risks. What is going on? Why is the euro so weak? Let's have a little look here. Alright, so Socialist Party is having a little bit of a hook-up with another left party. That's meaning that they're too far left for some of the centre people, which could end up voting for Le Pen. So they're spooked out a little bit about this. Okay. They're viewing Le Pen as just a tail risk. But any sort of chance is really negative, given that the market's like, fool me once, shame on me, fool me twice, you know, fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me. This is the third time, right? French elections. Can it be like Brexit? Can it be like Trump? Pretty much, from what I've read, it's impossible. But, I would have thought Trump was impossible. Like, literally. And what we're talking about is the whole world moving more right-wing, more protectionist, more nationalistic. And that's exactly what she represents, so. And then this is fresh. What's going on in Italy. The former Italian Prime Minister Renzi resigned. And he's trying to still remain the head of his party, so he's going to run again to get a new mandate for it. And the anti-Eurostar five-star movement, which is something we hear about regular, like on the side a little bit, it seems to be gaining. Yeah, I mean, this is a bit of a headache, like watching European politics like this, but we definitely have to do it every now and again, so it's not my favourite side activity, that's for sure. Okay, guys, well, yeah, I mean, we've got some risk on going through here on the DAX. You got the dollar yen a little bit following, euro trying to make new lows. Aussie and Kiwi are giving the best sort of price action at the moment than anything else. Euro pound, which is our main trade, is doing fine. Just continue to watch it at 9 o'clock. I'm not going to do a big one today. We will review what Carney says tomorrow and see how our trades go. I'm a little bit worried about this trade with Carney actually, because he's got such a propensity to talk the talk. I will put my stop to entry and see how we go. In terms of selling again, 84, 85.40, 85.50. I will if it falls, if it stalls, but we might be going even higher if it's the right sort of talk that we hear. Okay, but yeah, I will be holding this into the announcement, so into the meeting. I may not actually watch it too closely though. J Money. Sorry about that, J Money. Nothing's wrong with them. They're a good first broker, you know. But then you'll find out how the other brokers are, mate. That's what you'll figure out. All right, guys. Good luck with your trades. We'll be back tomorrow at 9 GMT. I might be in the chat room a little bit later to talk about the pound if there's big moves. Other than that, if you do want me to talk about a particular pair, come into the Forex Signals chat, send me a PM, and I'll look at it tomorrow.